Everybody, welcome back inside another exciting episode of the Stash Report from the Stash Project. Today is February 2nd, 2020, and what I've done here is I've decided to sort of combine what would have been our weekly show with what would have been our Nuremberg Toy Fair show. Turns out there were only two kits and a set of wheels released this week in Japan. That was it as far as kit releases go, and while there were some fun things to look at the Nuremberg Toy Fair, there really wasn't any new news short of the mind-blowing things that Tommy had decided to do, which we'll get into in a second. Although it's not really mind-blowing if you don't like race cars. Anyway, so we're just going to combine everything into one. We're going to run the kits out here first, and then the Nuremberg Toy Fair stuff will be secondary. Mainly, again, because other than one new tool announcement that Tommy had made at the Toy Fair, everything else is stuff we've already known about. It's just sort of like looking at pictures of stuff. So those three kits up front, all of them, of course, being Asian sourced at this point. Starting in Fujimi, to get this set of wheels out of the way, you have this set of 18-inch Workmeister Emotion. Could be anything, because everything is in Japanese on this box, but they are work emotions. Same sort of principle of all the wheel sets. Come with polycaps, come with a non-chromed wheel that's shown in chrome here, so you got to do that on your own. I know some people, don't particularly care for the chrome in the first place, which is probably why they aren't chroming them. But be that as it may, you're showing a chrome wheel on the box and you're not getting a chrome wheel in the box. So, at any rate, that's back out there for folks that are interested in it. Over at Hasegawa, we got their last release from January, and it is this. The Volkswagen Beetle Type 1 1966 California look with blonde girls figure. Girls is possessive there, so I guess this is the figure of every blonde girl. So I guess we know who's really a real blonde now. Alright, so California look, basically they took the bumpers off of it and added this wacky paint job. Other than that, this kit is pretty much your standard fare. I'm guessing the mirror differences also California. I don't know. California guys, help me out here. Is there anything, other than painting this thing and making it like smooth, is there anything California look about this? The decals that they give you are for the sort of streaks that are a slightly darker color on the box art. So if you go back and look at it, you are painting the two-tone yourself as far as the dark blue and the sort of I don't know, sort of like Phoenician yellow. It's not, or maybe it's a banana-y, lemony yellow. It's not really, it's not a big, bright, in-your-face yellow. And those streaks are in like a dark blue decal. So you're responsible for your own two-tone there, and then the decals break up the zigzag lines. They're not really flames. I guess they're kind of sort of lightning bolts in a 1980s sort of way. Other than that, this kit is what it always is in terms of this is a curbside Beetle. It's sort of was the in-between Beetle at the time, when this kit was tooled up, because you had the Tamiya Beetle, which of course is a full detail kit, and then you had that old Revell Beetle, which was a hot mess before the Revell of Germany made the newer 1968 one. So this sort of slotted in between, where it was a nice Beetle. It's a year newer than the Tamiya kit represents, because the Tamiya kit's a 65, and then it's a curbside, but it has, underside detail for the bottom of the chassis. The resin girl here obviously added. She is, much like the last couple of them, stuck in this pose where she's smelling her armpit, and you can change her eyes as far as, which way she's looking as she smells her armpit, but beyond that, there's nothing there. But Brian over at BG, resin girls. The literal translation there, missing the ownership of the apostrophe, but well, whatever. And lastly, we have out of the folks over at Nunu Hobby, the 2018 Macau Grand Prix GT3 race winner. I don't know why they specified it necessarily that way, because the Macau Grand Prix at this point is only a GT3 race in the first place. But this is a special commemorative edition for Charlie Lamb, who was the team principal. And he died shortly after this race, right before, actually, in January, before the 24 Hours of Daytona, which explains why a lot of the 2019 BMWs had a, immemorial to Charlie lettering and logos on a lot of them. This says, thanks, Charlie, because this was his last race with the team. This was his retirement race. And this is the winning car. These decals are slightly reconfigured to be, the decals that are in the box, but they are basically Frankie at SK Decals decal design. And so if you had a set of these decals separately, like you bought a set through Frankie, through SK, then there's nothing about these decals that are any different from those decals. But if you haven't, and you want a pretty neat color scheme and a pretty cool car, just in general as far as the livery goes, and a podium winning car, then you have this option here. I bought one of these strictly for the box art. I love this box art. I'm not normally not a box art person. You guys know that. But, I am a fan of BMW. Charlie Lamb was a very important person in the BMW motorsport family, and so I bought it for the box art. I'll build the kit. I don't care about the contents. I'm not going to save it, because this was supposed to be a Asian-only thing, and then it became a worldwide thing, so these are not going to be hard to come by. When it was first going to be a couple hundred of these were going to be done, okay, so I'll grab one and maybe I'll save it. But now that they've distributed it everywhere, well, it's not a rare kit anymore. So I'll keep the box art. Again, just like the box art, probably cut the sides off and maybe put it up on the wall somewhere. And then the kit itself, I will just build out as something else. Or maybe I'll just build it in this livery and I'll sell my SK decals. Whatever it may be. The only one difference in this kit compared to the last two releases of it, which were the Team Italia and the Falcon one, is this kit has the fender vents gated back off again for whatever reason. I know that they don't use the fender vents in Macau. The fender vents are only a Nürburgring Nordschleife long course thing on the BMW M6s. They do not have fender vents for brake cooling normally, but the Team Italia car is obviously a sprint Blancpain race car, and it had the fender vents. I don't understand the point of gating them back off again. You're saving like 2 cents worth of plastic there, but be that as it may, if you're looking at what you're going to do with this kit, if you don't want to build it box art style, know that the Nuremberg stuff is out for this version unless somebody wants to send you some plastic. So moving over to Germany last weekend, where they did or this weekend I should say, that they did the I'm trying to think what this was. The 52nd annual, 57th annual. It's been a while. German Toy Fair. We're going to go through these things alphabetically because that'll just be easy for me. So, strap in. Here we go. So Academy famously has released this 2018 Hyundai Santa Fe. You can buy it straight from Korea. It should be in worldwide distribution next month in March. They showed this Hyundai Pony over here, which has a very weird Doppler thing going on the roof from where the 3D printer spit it out. But there was a Hyundai Pony 2 that they tooled up back in the 1980s. It's a weird, not quite 1/24 scale, very large greenhouse thing. This is a Hyundai Pony, which is the first gen. And while it could theoretically share parts with the Pony 2, it does have a different front and rear trim levels, different mirrors, different wheels. So I think they've decided to just go ahead and make a whole new model kit out of it. What is very interesting about this, from a personal angle, is that this is kit 15137, according to the little card in the back. The Hyundai is 15135. So what is 15136? Is that another automotive release? Are the kits just constantly rolled out with rolling stock numbers? Is it not a Tamiya thing where each automotive kit has is a 24 or whatever? I don't know. I'd have to do a little digging in that. But hey, I mean, if you want a really kooky South Korean automobile, that is going to be an option for you sometime during 2020. Over at Bell Kits, they had both built and painted you'll see here in a second, versions of their upcoming Metro 6R4 race car or rally car. So you have this one, which is painted in, I think, the CompuVision livery, although there's no decals for this. But it gives you an idea what this is going to look like, all built up. Very cool looking kits. Very it was a ridiculous car in of its own right. And then you have this photo here, which is sort of the kit built up minus the painting. I'm going to assume that there's some sort of roll caging that goes down to the dashboard, or maybe that didn't exist in this car. It's a very weird looking roll cage because it only sort of covers the back half of the vehicle. You see it's a full detail kit, does have a full engine in it. This will be the first Belkits kit that has a full engine in it. Obviously, you couldn't really hide this. I mean, well, if you're Fujimi, you probably would have stuck an engine cup in the back and said, that's good enough for you folks, but for everybody else, you really couldn't stick a, uh, you know, half of a engine back there and have it look right with all the windows being open to the rear. Interesting, it does have that spare tire in the front ahead of the dashboard. I don't think that the hood, or the bonnet in this case, would open. So there's that. And then we got this sort of little placard here from the Belkits folks showing what's going to be coming up in the coming months and years. The Citroen C3 WRC coming out at the end of 2020, and the Hyundai, which is kind of funny because it'll be a 2019 rally kit coming out in 2021. But, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. That Hyundai i20 will be coming out in 2021. There's no mention here of the Ford RS. There's no mention here of the Opel Ascana. I assume that those are still in plan, but those were what were on the walls at the vendor booth. So you got to make do with what you have there. Going over to Ebro, they had a couple of placards thrown up for some of their upcoming kits this year. Who knows what the release dates are with Ebro, because sometimes they're, hey, right around the corner. Sometimes they're, 9 years from now. So first up, you have this one, which is sort of a dual thing, showing you the Renault 4 GTL, which is something we've talked about in the past. Hobby Link Japan has a release date of June on that, I think, but who knows? That would be the easiest one because it's just a couple of retool parts, and the retool parts, other than the wheels, I believe were stuff that were already available to order through Ebro, sort of backdoor off of their website. The solid roof and all of the GTL parts. Over there, you've got a Team Lotus Type 49C 1970 car and 120 scale F1. I couldn't really tell you much about that, but it does have a part. It does have a part number and a price, so maybe that means it's going to be coming out relatively soon. I think they showed a built model of that, but I can't be positive because I didn't download pictures of their actual thing, because it's all just a cluster of die-cast and models and stuff like that. It's very hard to sort of picture what's going on. Then you have this, which is the Tyrol 005 1972 F1 race car in 120 scale. There's no part number on this. Well, actually, there is a part number and a price on this. So maybe that'll come out sometime in 2020, and you won't be waiting for 3 years for that. It does have a part number that is way ahead of everything else in terms of their numbering scheme. And the last but not least, you have this, which is going to be another Tamiya Ebro compilation kit. That was how they got started with the compilation kit of the 2CV Fourgonnet, and it's the 1968 MS11 British Grand Prix F1 kit. So there is that. Looks like it's going to be boxed in a Tamiya box. And Ebro is doing, I'm not exactly sure what to this kit, but for anybody who's actually built the large-scale Matra, I guess you'd be able to look at this and go, oh, well, obviously the differences are, but I'm not, again, into F1, and I don't know, but just letting you guys know what's out there. We had one thing here from a company called International Hobbycraft. That's one of the main distribution channels of round 2 kits in Europe. Everything that's on this picture you guys should know about by now. The Supernatural Impala, of course, still coming this summer sometime. The one thing I'm showing you this picture for is the bottom there. You see that the venerable 64 Belvedere is going to get a reissue in the AMT Don't Call It a Lindbergh Anymore box. Looks like it's going to come with both engines because it's got the engine in the background of the car thing. That would be something I would be interested in picking up. I have a couple of the Dodge 330s in terms of the 2 engine kits back when the warehouse caught on fire, and all these distributed all of those Lindbergh kits for like $7. But I don't have a 64 Belvedere. So I had the NASCAR kit at one point, but I traded that off. But I'd never had a Belvedere Street kit, so that's something I would be interested in. And as far as I know, that Belvedere kit is not actually on any of the distribution lists. So that's one of the things about the Nuremberg Toy Fair from an American perspective, is every now and then you get something at that round 2 display that isn't on the distribution list in the coming 4 to 5 months, and so it's kind of fun. So there's that. And then going over to the Revell booth, there's just a couple of things we're going to look at here, mainly because we know about these kits. We've already talked about them, but we get to see pictures of some of the stuff. So first off, you have this. It's that upcoming Volkswagen V Type 1 camper. So the new parts here obviously are the camper thing. I'm guessing that doesn't really pop up out of the roof. I'm thinking it's just a part that sits up on the roof. They didn't modify the tooling like that. Because if you look at this, all this stuff is very. This was a in conjunction with Ebro. At least it was supposed to be when it started. And Ebro is providing you like the tooling pieces, right? The thing that goes on the roof rack that goes behind the pop-up, and then all of the sort of interior pieces that turn into a camper. All of those were supposed to be tooled up by Ebro, or at least Ebro was showing them off in their displays for the last year and a half. So this has a September release and bumps the part count up to 184 pieces. So I can't remember what the Tip 1 normally has in it. I have both of the Tip 1 kits, but they're too far away to be able to see from here. So that's coming. And then also coming is a new toolkit. The Easy Click, so the Snap Tight version of the Volkswagen Type 2, or really it's the Tip 1 Generation 2 kit. So this is very cool. This is not something that's been done before. October release, 100 parts. That's a hell of a lot of parts for a Snap Tight kit. So that'll give you an idea of exactly how robust that's going to be. It's not the Snap Tight Easy Click things that Revell is doing are not necessarily kids' toys. They are robust model kits. They are something of the sort of background, if you will, of the Revell Snap Tight kits of the early 1990s. The police car, the NSX, and things like that, where there were full detail kits, but there were snap tights. And then lastly, from the Revell booth, we have some more than one picture of this. Some pictures of this, which is the prototype for the upcoming XKE, or just they're calling it a Jaguar E-Type Coupe. But this is their new kit. Was what I like to also bring to your attention is the fact that this is a glue kit, and it's 110 pieces. So this has 10 more parts in it than the Snap-Tight Volkswagen does. So this looks like it's actually pretty decent. This is a kit that I was not exactly, looking forward to necessarily. It's like, oh, another Jaguar E-Type. Great. Fantastic. Ooh, who cares? And this actually looks really nice. There's obviously some, pieces and things about this that aren't quite, yet, but it's a prototype. Some people pointed out like there's sink marks in the windshield trim and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm sure they'll figure that out before October. But I realized that my predisposition to not liking Jaguar E-Types is the fact that all of the kits of Jaguar E-Types are, well, bad. You have the 1960s era fiddly as F Revell kit. The 1960s Fiddly as F Aurora kit that Monogram put out. God knows where that tooling even is at this point, if it still even exists. And then you have the Fiddly F as Heller kit from about the same time. All of those, especially considering the whole front end clamshells like that, are ridiculously stupid in terms of fitting and finishing and proportions and everything else. A lot of people think the 1/8 monogram kit is probably the best E-Type, but Jesus, the 1/8 monogram kit's as big as my laptop. I don't have a place to put that, and even then you get into the tit for tat arguing about it with people who actually know Jaguar. So having a brand new kit, I will give Revell the benefit of the doubt and at least give this one a chance, see if in 2020 the tooling hasn't been, brought up to snuff to the point where I would actually be willing to buy one and build it. So there's that. And then we're going to go over to the Tamiya booth finally here. So a couple of things that are just sort of straight reissues. Being that everything is Supra all the time, you see there is this, which are the reissues of the Mark III and the Mark II Supras. The Celica Supra, as we would call the 1980s one. So we talked about the fact that the 3.0 Turbo is coming back this month, and then I think they're going to be, it's a March release at least for the Japanese version of the 2800 GT. I have not seen pre-orders for the Long Beach Grand Prix version yet, but that's the way to get the American Celica Supra. I don't believe the 2800 GT comes with a left-hand drive dashboard necessarily. So, yeah, I think to get the U.S. spec Celica Super, you have to buy the Grand Prix Marshall one. Obviously, you don't have to put the goofy aerodynamic on it if you don't want to. So there is that. Get a hint at something there in the background if you've paid enough attention. And then also in a straight reissue, but with a little twist, is this. It is another reissue of their 1/12 Big Boy scale Porsche 934, this time in a Valiant livery. I don't think that the Valiant has been done before. I should probably have looked that up before I say something that authoritatively, but I don't remember this having a Valiant version. I know the Jägermeister versions come out a couple of times, so obviously same kit with different decals. Also want to show you that they are going to reissue their TS spray paint, cobalt green spray paint for the Valiant paint. That's something that was not available in the normal line, I don't think. At least not in a sense that they would be showing it. And certainly the new color, the new can style with the mini Tamiya mini logo on the front there. There was a huge problem with those 934s, much like there was a huge problem with the 787s. The 787B reissues, famously, we didn't get them in the United States or Europe or anywhere because they ran out of them in Japan. Hell, the Japanese direct importers like Hobby Search and Hobby Link Japan didn't even get enough to send over here. Some people ordered 2, 3, 4 of those and only ended up getting one or none at all. The 934 had the exact opposite distribution scheme where the Jägermeister kit was distributed in the United States and in Europe, and absolutely F all, nobody got one in Japan. So what are we going to do with this? Who's not getting this kit, I guess? It's almost becomes a point where you see these Tamiya reissues, you better order it from like a couple different places and deal with selling off the extra one rather than assuming that you're going to get one out of whatever place you normally order your kits from, because that has been an absolute S show this year in terms of their distribution. And I don't know why. I do know why. They're not making enough. They're doing a very limited run, and they're running out. Hopefully they've done this twice in 1 year now, or well, the end of last year. They'll take into consideration what the orders are on this version 934 and actually produce enough so everybody who wants one can actually get one. On the significantly modified reissue train, and we've talked about this kit in passing, is the reissue of the Mazda MX-5 Roadster as the RF, or the retractable Targa roof. So you get a new body, obviously, because it has like a flying buttress thing going on the back there that you can't replicate by just adding some pieces to the actual legit convertible body. So that's basically a top part of a core insert. And you get new wheels, new tires, the roof pieces for the roof, because you can stow the roof, you can keep the roof on. Some new clear pieces for the rear windows of those, new tires for some reason. I'm guessing because the wheels are a little bit bigger on the RF. The RF wheels are like an inch bigger than the MX-5 are. Some new masks, some new decals, and some new transfers. So that all looks very nice. Again, if you have a Plamos one, I don't know, you got to do the debate. Do you want the kit or do you want the make the resin conversion that you have? And then the big new tool announcement you've probably seen lurking around in the background, you're paying close enough attention, is this. It is the Ford Mustang GT4. Yes, a GT4 kit. That is the division underneath GT3, obviously. And most of these cars run in what would be the sort of IMSA support series. These cars have run since 2000 and I want to say 2016, but 2017 for sure. So they're currently running in 2020. So these kits, when somebody decides to make some aftermarket decals for them, there are a lot of options. They were running in what was called the Continental Sports Car Challenge. It is now the Michelin Pilot Challenge because the tire sponsorship has changed, so the series name has changed with it. These decals that you're getting in the kit straight from Tamiya are the factory demo livery, much like the AMG GT3 was, just in the factory demo livery. So we'll see who all makes new decals for this. There's a plethora of options. Like I said, there's somewhere between 4 to 8 of these running in any given year in the IMSA support. They also ran in British GT. They also ran in FSFA, which is the French GT4 Championship. So there's a number of liveries that can be done for this in the future. Now, what is this kit going to give you? All right, well, let's take a quick peek here. Let's get you to the thing. Here's your body, chassis, and sort of interior trees. You'll be like, oh my God, there's a huge hole where the engine goes. slow down. Look at that body. The hood's molded in. Those big holes are for the vent inserts, which are up there behind the door card panels on the interior black tree up there that has like the front and rear body inserts. It also has the front lip spoilers, some side skirts. It looks like the rear spoilers on there. The racing seat is in there. Yeah, so this is a bottom of the engine, as you'll see in this picture. That's it. There's a bottom of the engine. Now, some people have pointed out in the past, Tommy has started out kits with bottoms of engines and then done full engine kits. The GT4 is reasonably close to a GT, 300 or 500, whichever the top of the line. I'm sorry, I should know that. I'm an American, but the top of the line Shelby right now. And I don't think too much would have to be done with the body, other than obviously deleting the spoiler off, and put a regular street grill in to replicate that car. So could that be something that's coming? I mean, pure speculation. Legitimately, no inside knowledge. It could. I mean, Tommy never releases things with one version. There's always two. I mean, even the AMG GT3, you got that Super GT version, which, yeah, it was a set of wheels and some decals, but it was a second legitimate release of it. You've seen a lot of times where the Ferraris get a release, and then there's a release with either a clear body or a release with a colored body, which, again, very little change to it, but it is a second kit that they've done. So unless you put a specific livery into this GT4, I don't know what the second release of it would be, unless you sort of do a street car out of it. The two bottom of the engine kits would be the old Mustang that they did back in the 90s and the 90s RX-7, where the Infiniti one only has the bottom of the engine, but the North American kit has the top detail as well. So that gives you an idea of what's coming in that kit. The RF has a pre-order for March in Japan. The Mustang does not currently have a pre-order in Japan, but from talking to the folks at Tamiya USA, they are saying the release date for it is March 20th. So take that for what it's worth. And that also wraps up this video. So we hope you enjoy that sort of inside look at the Nuremberg Toy Fair. And we'll see you guys on the other side.